Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy new month. Happy new month. If you can hear me clearly and loud, just type in the chat room. I can hear you. Yes, yeah, just join. Let's join. Happy new month. You're about to see my face anytime soon. Happy new month. This is from REMS Nation people. Happy new month. Good to hear you too. Good to see you guys. We thank God for the gift of life. All right. Happy new month. Realtors are always chilling on Mondays morning to prepare for the week. All right. So we're getting ready for the new week, a brand new week, a sweet week. One of the best weeks so far in 2022. This week, I believe God with this month, sales about to come in. Of course, health is wealth, as they say. All right. We have in the house, our doctor is in the house. Come on. Somebody show some sign, excitement in the hair. We have our doctor in the house. Now, go to the chat room now. We're going to remind our members to come online. Doctor is here live already. We are live also on YouTube. Come on, guys. You don't want to miss this section. You're making money, but think about your health also. REMS Welfare Department has your interest at heart. That's why this has been brought up so that we can understand some few things and think of our health. Come on, guys. It's time to get everybody on the call now because our doctor is in the room, in the building. Come on, somebody. Hallelujah. I'm excited. I'm alive. I'm excited because I know God has kept us alive for a good purpose, for a good reason. Okay. Waiting for our directors to come online too. Especially our welfare director all helped us to put this together. Madam Benita, waiting for your call, waiting for you to come online. If you're online, let me know, man, so that I'll put you on the call and get you to speak. I think my man is online now. Okay, I sent it to Madam Benita online now already. Okay, we're getting ready to shoot. What an awesome time to have this section on the first day of the month of August 2022. Our directors and most, of course, the welfare unit has also interest in our hearts to ensure that our health is sound. So you're making money and you're looking good also. So what is our time this morning? We have in the house already online already. I just want to call right now on the call for our president to give us an open remarks, which is our Madam Fika Kende. Give us our open remarks as we launch into today's talk. All right. Over to you, Mama.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, ma.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, very clearly, ma.
Okay. Happy New Month. Happy New Month, everybody. It's a good time to be alive. We give God the glory.
Hallelujah.
Most of the people that we started January together, some of them are no more. So for every good opportunity to be alive, every day you wake up, you should give the glory to God. So we thank God for another beautiful day, another beautiful month, an opportunity to be a partaker of the blessings that come with this month. There's a blessing with your name on it this month. Just believe it. So all you need to do is key into it, align into it, and receive it. Okay, that said, it is a known fact. It's a known fact that realtors like money. We love money. In fact, I don't think there's any other profession that likes money like us.
Yes, sir.
On that list, it is realtors first, then every other profession. So, but as we are making that money, it's important to take care of our health. Now, in the recent few days, we've seen a lot of people know names, a lot of people that we know that have lost their lives. Some just slumped and died. Some didn't wake up. Some were eating, like Madam Adame, may I so rest in peace. She was eating and suddenly she just went like that. Now, we can't question God, definitely. He has a plan for everybody's life. But at the same time, we should do our parts, which is take care of our health. Be conscious of your health. A lot of people are dealing with one health challenge or the other that they're not even aware of because they've not gone for checkups. True. Now, that's one thing every Nigerian should do. We don't like going to the hospital. We don't like doing checkups. And that is why I love this initiative, because it's going to give us opportunity to hear a thing or two about our health. We can't be making money and not take care of our health. They say health is wealth. If you have all the money in the world and your health is shaky, who will enjoy that money that you have made? So it's important to check on our health. It's important to always have time for our health. And I want to encourage all of us, go for checkups. Don't say because you are looking fine, you feel fine in your body. Go for checkups. Early detection is always better for whatever it is. And REMS has given you that platform. There's a HMO, that we are working on and all of that. Go for checkups. Go for checkups. It's important. Don't wait till when it is too late. God forbid. So God help us as we listen to this health talk. And I want to appreciate the welfare department for this initiative. Pastor Bobby, well done. And our doctor in the house, thank you too. We would love to hear from you. And as we hear this thing, please let us take our health very, very seriously. Thank you, Pastor Bobby, and have a beautiful day, everybody.
Thank you so much, Madam Fukekende, Ambassador Dr. Fukekende, as our president in REMS Nation. Now over to our able, dependable welfare director, as introducing the doctor for today.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Bobby.
Yes,
good morning, everybody. How are we doing today?
Great.
It is our pleasure to do this. Thank you, Pastor Bobby, for making this happen. And like our president just said, health is wealth. When we make all this money and we are not healthy and alive to eat it, what's the essence? That is why we are doing this. And we indulge every REMS nation listening right now, bring out your jotter, jot some things down, because we are going to learn a lot. The doctor that is coming on board have experience of over 10 years. And 10 years in the medical industry is not a joke.
At all.
So don't take this lightly at all. Bring out your paper, your jotter, and jot all the things that is necessary for you. And also there will be a section where you can ask your question, but Pastor Bobby will anchor it and we are not allowing question in between so that the doctor can flow very well. Okay, so it's my honor to introduce our own doctor, Dr. Udensi Enyinnaya, that has over 10 years experience to come and speak with us about health. Doctor, we welcome you. Thank you for coming to do this. We appreciate you. And we know that we are going to learn a whole lot from you. Thank you, sir. And the floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning. I can actually palpate the excitement in this forum. I thank you so much for the pastor. You really started this whole thing, and I think it's really going to help us in the conversation we had today. Thank you so much, Pastor. It should be Pastor Bobby, right?
Yeah, yes. Pastor Bobby.
Then the second person was Ms. Funke. I greet you too.
Yeah,
then our able welfare secretary. She already chatted. The welfare director, yes. That's Ms. Benita.
Yes,
Ms. Benita, it's nice to hear from you. You see, I'm learning the names already. So I'm sure that you have many other persons on this call and recognize knowledge every single thing here in this meeting. It's a good thing that you decided to have us discuss hypertension. And the point someone made, a fact all of you have also even said it, that it is important to identify this thing early. And if it's identified early, we're very certain that we're going to have a much more minimized problem after that. People can live with a lot of problems. See, the world does not throw apples at people. You can throw just anything. Some receive apples, some receive thorns. But even the thorns you receive, you are the one to determine whether it lands on your hands as thorns or actually apples. So the way a lot that happened to you can be modified by you. So situations that are meant to be bad can actually turn out to be good depending on the way you approach it. So the same thing happens with health conditions. The early identification of these things can help handle all issues that would have arisen if they were not identified on time. But it also means that if you identify them on time, you are expected to do the right things based on the guidelines provided by your managing doctor and doctors so that you stay healthy. I remember, I used to know someone that has lived as a 2002. He had lived with both hypertension and diabetes for 40 years. As at 2002, for 40 years, that's a pretty long time for anybody to live with one condition, not to talk of living with the two. And he died at a very old age, almost 95 years, in 2019. So it means people can live a very long time. You can spend decades after being identified with a certain illness, especially this kind of chronic ailment. But it all depends on the way you manage yourself. Because I remember one thing that was unique with him was that he never joked with his healthcare, never joked with his medications, he never joked with checking his sugar level, BP, and all of that. And he took his medication seriously. And of course, he stayed in hospital as well. So it means we can all live a very normal life, even with chronic ailments. It is not a death sentence. So people must not have stroke, they must not have heart conditions or liver or kidney failure because of it. So the topic is quite timely. And we know what the economics of things are saying currently. So if you notice that there's a whole lot of inflation worldwide, not only in Nigeria, it means wisdom can be applied here. Pastor Bobby will tell you that according to the Bible, that wisdom profited to what, Pastor, again?
Direction.
To direction. So we're trying to give you that direction so that you apply the wisdom. The wisdom is applied knowledge. So we're giving you the knowledge, and by the time you apply it, we believe it turns out wisdom for you, and you reap the benefits. And of course, your colleagues at work will be happy that you are healthy and alive, and Pastor Bobby will continue to make you happy. All right, thank you so much for the opportunity, REMS, and thank you for choosing Hija HMO as your healthcare provider. We do appreciate you immensely. I believe my colleague is also here, Mr. Daniel. Can you hear me out? My colleague, your retention manager, he's the relationship manager for you. Mr. Daniel, are you in the house? Can you mute and say hello to the house?
Yeah, he's on the call. I think it's a step out something.
All right, thank you so much for that. I'm sure we'll soon get, because we have many other clients. I'm sure he has many other ones to attend to. I also have another colleague, I believe, has joined here. He's also probably in the future maybe handling some of these services too. Is Mr. Precious, and I believe he's also here too. So let's hit the road with this discussion. As said earlier, get your questions ready, your pen ready, put them down on the chat box so that you don't forget them, or write them down somewhere if you have a pen and paper, so that we can attend to them once we are done. So let's hit the road. Everybody have heard about hypertension somehow, somewhere. What is hypertension, in fact? In the words of a popular comedian, we'll call him Zebruda, he will say, let me just put it the way he will say it: hypertension, hypertension. What are hypertension? So what exactly is hypertension? What do we need to know? Why is it important that we know about hypertension. If we know about it and you used to actually have someone around us that suffer this thing, or ourselves too, how do we get ourselves better? How do we make sure that it doesn't start becoming a problem for us? Unfortunately, hypertension is a silent killer. Whenever it is there, it doesn't tell you it is there. You only know that hypertension is there when it has already started causing problems. But by the time it comes in and it hasn't started causing significant problems that you will feel, you will not know it is there. And our body have been designed wonderfully by God to have some level of resilience. Now, it has its positive side. This resilience has its positive side. It also has its negative side. The resilience, the positive side is the fact that our body can withstand a lot of stress and all of those things. But the negative side with this resilience is the fact that some damage may be happening and we will not even know that that damage is happening. And it applies in situations like hypertension here. It is there, the problem is ongoing, but we don't know that it is there. For instance, there are 5 main target organs for hypertension: the brain, the eyes, the heart, the 2 kidneys, and all the blood vessels in our body. These kidneys may be going and damaging and nobody will know. The kidney, we only need about 10% of the capacity of the kidney to survive, to live a normal life. Sometimes I start wondering, why do we even have 2 kidneys? But it's quite important. If you see the rate of kidney failures these days, you now know why God gave us 2. Because only one would have taken, in fact, one was more than enough. For one, only 20% of his capacity would have been needed to keep us alive. But God was so liberal, so magnanimous to give us 2. And still, the things that happen to the kidneys happen to the kidneys. What it means is that there's a whole lot we have to take care of and handle to make sure that our organs stay safe, especially for this conversation, hypertension, as it relates to other organs, including the kidneys. So it takes damage of up to 90%, 8 to 90% of the capacity of the kidneys before you start seeing signs that the kidney has a problem. So that's the negative side of it, of this resilience. But if we do regular checks on ourselves in a form of annual health checks, go to the hospital visit, don't always believe that, since I was born, I don't go to the hospital, I'm very healthy. You may be telling yourself, you may be misleading yourself, because when a lot of damage could be happening to your body and you do not know. There is no generator that will live many years without needing services. For a mechanic to come and service it. And that's the way we also need to service our body. We keep breaking down and all of that. Yes, you may get down and the next day you feel better and you think everything is okay and you continue working. It doesn't mean that whatever got you down has been properly taken care of. It's important you go to do a check. So hypertension, let me describe it a little, why it's important that we maintain a normal range for blood pressure. We know about pressure. Physics have told us, for the ones that studied physics, what pressure means. So imagine that a load of the size of let's say the B2 or even a small car rests on your back. You will not be able to. Okay, you can carry. Let's say it this way. Imagine you carry a weight to move a certain weight to move 1 kilometer, walk 1 kilometer. If you carry the weight, by the time you carry it, something like a 10-liter gallon may not feel so heavy. But by the time you walk a long distance, you notice that it's becoming a problem. If you do it for 20 liters, it will be different. So you see that for you to function effectively, there is a certain amount of weight you can carry and handle very well. It's also the same thing that happens with our body. For our body, our tissues to function very well, the blood flowing through the pipes, we call blood vessels, in our body would have to move at a certain speed, normal speed that will help it drop. One of the major functions of the blood is to drop nutrients. The nutrients can come as the food you eat, including oxygen. Also drop them at the doorsteps of all the cells in our body. So it keeps dropping it very fast. This is a very efficient mechanism. Drop them very fast, even when it's moving fast. You drop them very fast. Now, one of that job is to also pick wastes from the ones that have brought out wastes. So if you stay in Lagos, you imagine that LASMA comes every second to your doorstep to pick wastes. It means you won't even have any waste in your house, and the whole place will not be messed up. And of course, it's the kidney that helps to throw away this waste. So our body system is a very efficient system, but it can only stay very efficient if things operate within a normal range, already set by God that it should be operating this way. So if your blood start moving, rather than move at let's say 60 kilometers per hour, if that is what God set it for, if rather than move at 60 kilometers per hour, it starts moving at twice that amount, let's say 100 or 120 kilometers per hour, you notice that instead of dropping food to certain cells in our body, all the cells in our body, you to start skipping some cells, because not all of them will get that fast. But if it moves at 60 kilometers per hour, it will be able to drop, and every cell will get the food or the packages to drop in, and also have their wastes removed. So that pressure is very important, and that's actually what happened to our body. If the pressure is so high, the normal function of the tissues will be definitely affected. If it is normal, the blood pressure in our blood vessels is normal, then the functions of our cells would be very normal. Now, so for hypertension, according to WHO, once the blood pressure is over 140 for the upper one and 90 millimeters of mercury for the lower one, then that is considered hypertension. That is World Health Organization definition for hypertension. But you now ask yourself, what is the normal range? For the upper one, what we call the reference range, we prefer to call it reference range than normal range. So now, the reference range for the upper one is between 100 and, in fact, it will start a little around 105 to 100, or let's say 100 to 120. We have come down low to 100 because a number of persons in certain physiologic conditions still feel very normal with it, and nothing happens to them negatively. So between 100 and 120 is the reference range for the upper one. Between 65 and 85 millimeters of mercury is the reference range for the lower one. The upper one we call systolic, the lower one we call diastolic, and it's important to know both of them and make sure that both of them are okay. So above 120, between 120 and 139 for the upper one is considered risk. It means this person is not hypertensive, but is likely to become hypertensive if that is what you continue to get on 3 random blood pressure checks, well spaced by more than 24 hours. If you get more than between 120 and 139 for the upper one, and above between 86 and 89 for the lower one, then for 3 times you check randomly, at least one day apart, then it's likely you may be at risk. But remember, there are standard guidelines for checking blood pressure. A lot of the blood pressures checked are not checked the correct way. Can you still hear me? Can someone still hear me?
Yes, sir, very much, very much. Sir.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. So remember, there are reference ranges and there are standards for checking blood pressure. So if you want to check your blood pressure and get the right readings, it includes the fact that you cannot take coffee or for the people that smoke here, please, that's unhealthy, but you cannot be smoking, or even take cola nut. That's anything that contains nicotine. Cola nut, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you can't take them because they have these characteristics. They have this thing about them that increases the blood pressure. There are too many guidelines. So if you want to check it the correct way, you get the correct guideline. Even the blood pressure monitor you're going to be using to make sure you get the correct reading for the electronic types have to be calibrated, because if it's not calibrated and matched to the standard ones, that's the standard mercury in glass type that we call the manual type, and properly calibrated, it may be giving you incorrect readings. So these are things we must check to make sure that the values we're getting is reliable enough, so that when we go and check, and we know that we've done our homework to make sure that everything is reliable, both from ourselves and from the nation and from the healthcare workers. Everything is reliable. If we still continue to get readings that for the upper one is between 121 and 139, and for the lower one between 86 and 89 millimeters of mercury, then there is a risk for hypertension. But we start counting that this person is hypertensive on average when the blood pressure is above from 140 and 140 over 90 millimeters of mercury and above. That's when we start counting that. So I've explained to you why it is important that our blood pressure stays within the reference range of 100 to 120 for the upper one and 65 to 85 for the lower one. It helps our tissues function effectively without any injury at all. So that's the best blood pressure. Now, but let's look at some little further information about hypertension. So we have different types of hypertension. And before we describe these different types of hypertension, let's even look at a little demographics about them. We'll go back to the slide that talks about types of hypertension. This is epidemiology, and we're talking about data here. What's information about data? How many persons are affected about this? Now, the data we are putting here was derived in 2012. Hypertension affects 1 billion people and is the commonest risk factor for death throughout the world. I don't know whether anybody understood this. If you did, you will understand that a large population of persons are affected. WHO estimated that by the year 2050, that will be almost 9 billion persons in this planet called Earth, our wonderful planet. 9 billion persons is not a small number. Now, according to the most recent demographics, we are almost 8 billion persons in the world. China alone is over 1.4 billion. India alone is over 1.3 billion. So these two countries have almost finished the whole world when it comes to population. Now, but if 1 billion persons have hypertension as of 2012, that will tell you how common hypertension is. It means at random, 8 persons out of 8 persons you meet on the road, 1 person is hypertensive. It means hypertension is now a household name. And a lot of people, it means a large number of persons are at risk of developing problems associated with hypertension. World Health Statistics in 2012 has estimated that prevalence of hypertension by sex is 29.2% for males and 24.8% in females. So for all men, every male, child or adult that existed as of 2012, and when this data was reported, 29.2% of them were hypertensive. And for the female folks, 24.8% of them were hypertensive. Hypertension is not limited to the rich, so it doesn't have a racial divide, it doesn't have a financial divide, it doesn't have a stature divide, it doesn't have a beauty or physical appearance divide, it doesn't just look at your color, it doesn't look at whether you are an intelligent person or you are not an intelligent person. It doesn't have any form of divide. It affects everyone, rich or poor. So it means it is everybody's concern. It should be everybody's concern that we reduce the number of cases we have for hypertension. Then further demographics states that out of a total of 58.8 million deaths worldwide in 2004, high blood pressure accounted for 12.5% of that, 12.8 rather, 12.8% of that. That's about 7.5 billion. So in 2004, if hypertension killed 7.5 million persons, why shouldn't we be so scared about it? Can anybody tell me why we shouldn't be worried about it? Do you have any reason we shouldn't be worried about it? How many has COVID killed so far? Whereas in 2004 alone, 7.5 million persons died because of hypertension. Do you still think it's a disease for concern? Does anybody think it's a disease for concern based on these demographics?
It is so.
7.5 billion persons in 1 year.
Hi. God have mercy.
Thank you, Pastor. You already know it. So world over, hypertension is responsible for 51% of cerebrovascular disease, stroke, and 45% of heart attacks. So we should be worried about this thing. When we see it, we shouldn't call it our friend. We should just call it an enemy. And according to the Bible, this enemy has come to kill and to destroy. But God is here to give us life and life abundantly. So, but according to
knowledge.
That is knowledge, yes. So remember, knowledge applied is called wisdom. If it is not applied, then the Bible will call it foolishness. Sorry, I'm not trying to say, I recognize our Islamic brothers here, but I'm only quoting the one I'm much more used to. I wish someone can also quote from the Quran as well. So we recognize you and we are with you and we're happy to have you. So types of hypertension, 2 types. We have the primary type of hypertension, we have the secondary type of hypertension. For the primary type, there is no specific cause you can hold tight and say this is the reason this hypertension is here. So such cases happen with age. You've noticed that the older people get, the more likely they start getting hypertensive. Now, one of the reasons they may get hypertension at that age could also be because a lot of our tissues are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So the way they used to respond to withstand some stress is no longer the way they can do it at the ages above 60 and above. So you start seeing that at our age and above, more people are hypertensive than other age groups. Then, of course, you say that some people have it in their family. I have known a man that was hypertensive. He had even stroke, and his daughter of less than 30 was already hypertensive. So we can easily say that that is in the family. Yes, a lot of them, it's recognized. Primarily, in most cases, it happens to people in the first degree relatives of persons that are hypertensive, usually are hypertensive or are at risk, not are hypertensive, at risk of hypertension. So for a father, his children are likely to be hypertensive, whether male or female. If you have a sister or brother that is hypertensive, blood sister or blood brother that's hypertensive, the risk you are going to be hypertensive is also high. It's not limited to first degree relations. Second degree relations, third degree relations can have it. The only thing is that it may look a little less and less with the other relations. If they also do not have others anyway, that their own first degree relations that are hypertensive, but it looks less and less, but that risk is still there. For secondary hypertension, there is a known cause. In these situations, in these cases, if you take away the cause, you can cure the hypertension. So we have them for people that are significantly obese, and we're going to look at some other reasons. Now, for the population of persons affected by the primary hypertension, it is the larger volume. About 95% of all hypertensive patients or persons have the primary type of hypertension, which we also call essential hypertension. Only 5%, that's a very small number now, percentage rather, small percentage, but in the actual numbers it's massive if you look at 1 billion. So only very little percentage, that's 5% of persons that have hypertension have the secondary type. And the secondary type is often seen among the younger population than the older population. And we're going to be looking at why these things are so. So let's start with the primary hypertension and the risk factors, the things that are considered risk factors for primary hypertension. Age is number one. We've already said it. The older people get, the more hypertensive they are likely to be. And it happens very significantly from age above 60 years. But again, these days, we have noticed that men and women at much younger age are already developing even this primary type of hypertension. And some of the contributions could be a few things we're going to mention here. So again, for the gender, we've noticed that, of course, from the previous demographics you saw, males are much more hypertensive than females. So we've quoted 29.2 and then against 24.8 for females. So males are much more affected. It means men, you should also watch it as much as women, you should watch it. Ethnicity, we have many ethnic groups there. So if we go to our elementary social studies, I'll start looking at the races there. I think we have the Mongoloids, the Caucasians, the Negroids, and the Australoids. These are the four races we have on this planet. The Negroids, those are the blacks, have it more, followed by the Caucasians, that's the whites. Whites with any hair, any type of hair color, whether blonde or white or black or any other color. So of course the Mongoloids are the Chinese and the Korean group. Then the Australians, yes, so the Australians have some colors, rather. They have colored hair too. So first on this group of ethnicity is blacks, followed by the Caucasians. Sorry, I'm trying to remind you a bit of your social studies you did in secondary school. Then obesity contributes significantly to this. So there are families where you have a lot of people quite obese there. So oftentimes it's quite genetic. But even when they do a whole lot to just control that weight, the effort you that doesn't have it in your lineage, that's obesity in your lineage, if it takes you running 1 kilometer to lose 1 pound of your weight, it may take them running about 5 to 10 kilometers to lose the same 1 pound. And I'm sure you know there are persons like this affected. So such persons in that group are likely to even be hypertensive than other groups. Alcohol consumption and abuse particularly increase the chances of developing this primary type. And once developed, in fact, you may say, yeah, it's not secondary. The problem is that once it is developed, even if you stop the alcohol, it's not going to cure the problem. It is why it's important that these lifestyle changes that are required here should be considered and taken seriously. So alcohol has its impact. It causes some damage to our tissues, especially our blood vessels, and that make them increase the risk to hypertension. Of course, the obesity also contributes to our blood vessels by increasing the quantity of fat inside our blood vessels, thereby narrowing the blood vessels. A blood vessel that should be big enough becomes small, and because it has become small, the heart starts pumping at a strong pressure, very high pressure, to just deliver blood to the tissues and still distribute the food and take away the excess. But unfortunately, this problem, if it continues, will continue to sustain the blood pressure. So smoking is another risk factor and produces a lot of active substances in the cell linings of our blood vessels that increase the risk of hypertension. Excess intake of salt. Salt, that is sodium, the sodium contained in the table salt we put in our foods, is not very healthy. Somebody will cook stew, put salt, of course, in the stew. There's Maggi, and of course, there's a lot of salt in the Maggi. If you have tried to taste Maggi, there's a lot of salt already there. Then you also put the same salt in your rice. You're going to use an abba. You see, moderation is the key to survival. Whatever we are doing on this planet, whether it's the good, bad, or ugly, I'm not saying you should do the bad and the ugly. The more moderate we are, the more likely we thrive with them. So the salt intake, excessive salt intake, is not healthy at all for us. We only need it just for minimal stuff. Sodium in excess is not very healthy. Physical inability. In fact, our product call it physical inactivity. the more physically inactive we are because of the kind of work we do or the lifestyle we live, because we don't always, maybe we drive long distances and we're always on the highway driving long distances, or because we're working from home, or indulge or working from the office so much so you just come out from your house, enter your car, you drive the long traffic in Lagos, from there, enter the office, and you continue again in the office, your desk, and you don't move out so much. By the time the work has closed, you enter again to your car, you drive another long distance, come back to your house, and just relax and be taken care of. At the end of the day, you're actually not taking care of yourself. You end up developing a lot of problems because of physical inactivity. Among many other things, it also increases the risk of obesity. And of course, our tissues need a lot of exercise to help us, even the heart, to help it function effectively. Family history we mentioned. People that have hypertension in their family, particularly the first degree relations, are likely to be hypertensive. The other relations outside the first degree can also be affected. Our diets, we mentioned it, salt can increase our risk. And of course, foods rich in cholesterol, fats, can increase the risk of developing hypertension. And it is important we watch these. Now we're looking at the secondary type of hypertension. What are the actual causes of this hypertension? That if we remove them, we're likely to cure them, cure hypertension. In most cases, we have seen that people that are diabetic, according to our books, that 70% of persons that are diabetic also develop hypertension. Because diabetes itself, that excess sugar, has a way of damaging the blood vessels. It damages both the small sized and big sized blood vessels. And because it damages them, it's just like a lot of weight, a lot of things clogged up the passage, the waterway that should drain our environment of excess water clogging or water log and all of that. So if things block it that much, the heart will have to do excess work, a lot of work to clear them. So if diabetes were not there for a lot of people who do not have hypertension in their gene or in their family history or anything, or no practice at all has predisposed them to hypertension, diabetes alone being present, maybe because they already have a risk factor, is going to likely bring in hypertension. Kidney diseases is another thing. There are forms of kidney diseases that will definitely increase the risk of hypertension, and if we cure them, the person can be cured of hypertension as well. Pheochromocytoma is a cancer of a gland we call the adrenal gland. In fact, this gland is sitting on top of both of the kidneys. There are two of them, one on the left, one on the right. Now, this cancer produces excess adrenaline and noradrenaline, and both of them are active so much on our blood vessels. They can narrow, in excess quantities, they can narrow our blood vessels and make our hearts pump at a very high force. And of course, eventually the high speed, and that will increase the pressure. If this pheochromocytoma is cured, hypertension can be cured because the heart will start functioning normally. Cushing syndrome does the same thing. This is excess of steroids in our body. It's also a tumor. It's also a tumor-related condition. Excess production. Congenital adrenal hyperplasia there. The adrenal gland, similar to what we have said about pheochromocytoma, but in this particular case, it is not cancerous. It is still a tumor, but still produces excess of this adrenaline and noradrenaline, and in this case, increases hypertension. Now, another is hyperthyroidism or overactive thyroid gland. Thyroid, of course, have some impact on our heart. The quantity produced can increase the quantity of the activity on the heart, the pumping strength of the heart, as well as certain forms of metabolism, especially with increased release of things like cortisol. So it can start giving the same impact as Cushing's syndrome. Can you still hear me?
Very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So hyperparathyroidism. So that you've heard of hyperthyroidism, a thyroid gland. There's also 4 small organs behind that thyroid gland that produces parathyroid hormone. You may not have heard it because you're not a medical person, but parathyroid hormone is very important in the metabolism of calcium and some minerals in our body. And in excess, they also have a way of contributing significantly to hypertension. Then pregnancy, you've noticed that some women will tell you there, some men have also noticed that once their friend or someone they know, or themselves too, become pregnant, the doctor will start telling them your BP is high. How did it happen? Before the pregnancy, I never got, this BP was never high. Suddenly it is now high because I'm pregnant, or my friend is pregnant, or someone I know is pregnant. Yes, there are pregnancy-induced hypertension that only came in because there was pregnancy. We have things we think about the causes, but in most cases, once the woman delivers, within a short while, her BP comes down. Over a short period of few weeks, her BP comes down to normal. But it's also important to note that many years after, from what we have observed, women that had hypertension during pregnancy eventually become hypertensive. So that if once you notice that you were hypertensive during pregnancy, don't just go and rest on your earners and think, it's only for pregnancy. I'm 40 now. I'm not delivering. I delivered 10 years ago. That's the one I had my last baby. I can't be hypertensive again. Please, mommy, go to check your blood pressure again. It's important you do, because we've noticed that a lot of women in that category eventually develop the first type, that is the primary type of hypertension, and they need to do proper check, take their medications. Sleep apnea is a problem, a benign problem anyway, that affects people with certain situations. Well, the major thing is that at night they don't sleep very effectively, and the rate of intake and exhalation of oxygen and carbon dioxide and the way it is managed in their body presents a whole lot of stress to the heart. The heart starts pumping so much to just mop up as many oxygen as possible, and over time starts getting used to pumping at a faster rate. Some of them, there are different types of it. Some of them can be cured, and most of them actually can be cured or be taken care of. So if it is cured on time because it's identified, we can solve the problem. Some forms of obesity also can be cured by hypertension. So this obesity is usually due to our lifestyle, with the type of eating and sedentary lifestyle. If we control the weight and lose it significantly, some hypertension can be cured because of that. Or even notice that you don't need many drugs, a lot of drugs to take care of you. Maybe 3 drugs or 4 antihypertensives is what you need to take to bring down your blood pressure. But because you have also controlled your weight significantly, you may not even need just 1 tablet. You may even need half of 1 tablet only, and you'll be very okay afterwards. So it's important we consider losing our weight. Then we have chronic kidney disease. We mentioned kidney disease before, and we don't need to mention it again. So signs and symptoms. We've talked about signs, no symptoms. Note this. You only start having signs or symptoms when it has already caused damage significant enough for your body to start noticing and complaining. So if the kidney is going to tell you that this hypertension is damaging me, and it's already telling you by some signs, it means that a major part of the function of the kidney have been compromised. It is why we don't need to wait to be diagnosed. You don't, for the ones on medication, you don't say, it is when I get this sign, I go and take my drug, I will know my BP has gone up. Mama, Papa, it is bad. It is very bad. It means a lot of damage has happened to your body. And if that damage has happened to your body, it is not going to be repaired again. It has happened already. So it's not going to be repaired. So you may be the one weakening your heart, your brain, your eyes, your kidneys, and your blood vessels. So don't wait till you get those signs like headache and start saying, okay, this is when I need to take my drugs. Continue to take your drugs. And it's important you note something. The essence of taking your BP medication is not just to swallow it because the doctor said you should swallow it. It is meant to bring down the blood pressure within the range we mentioned is considered normal. 110 to 120 for the normal one, 65 to 85 for the lower one, and all in millimeters of mercury. So we should keep it in that range. But if it does not keep it in that range, you need to go back to your doctor. If it is higher or lower, go back to your doctor and say, this is not giving me, bringing down my BP within this range, or there may be some other thing that should be done. And it's important to note, we're going to talk about them anyway. So until complications occur, that's when you start having signs and symptoms. That is why we call it the silent killer. But when the complications start, see some of the ways you start noticing them. And that is what we now start telling you is hypertension. Around your BP may have gone up. Severe headache, so much. And that, of course, is affecting the brain. Breathlessness, this person has to start having difficulty breathing. When they just, normally you should, by the time you start breathing so fast, we expect that you will have run some distance fast from here to the next 1 kilometer. But you start breathing fast, even when you're walking about. Which one relates that? It's not, something is not balanced. It means it's affecting your heart. You need to check. Palpitation is just the awareness that your heart is beating. You shouldn't normally notice your heart is beating, as in when you're just not so physically active. You can notice it when you have run very well and you notice that your heart is pumping. But just like cars that have this that are quite very silent, have been designed to be very silent. Some cars can just pass you and you won't even hear their sound. You just be hearing the crick, crick, crick sound they're making, crushing on maybe one small thing or sand there. But you do not hear their sound. That's the way our heart is also designed, to make sure you don't feel any boom, boom, boom on your chest. But when you start feeling it, even on just normal activity, you're not running, you're not just normal walking and all of that, and you're not walking so fast, you're not talking too much, you're not doing any heavy thing, there may be a problem. You need to check it out. And it's a problem with the heart. Tachycardia is your heart rate moving faster than normal. It should be between 60 or 70 to 100. But when it starts moving faster than that, maybe when you check your blood pressure or you go to the hospital and they tell you your heart rate is more than 100 beats per minute, it's important to check and find out why. Angina pectoris is just central chest pain. There are many causes of chest pain. Not all of them are from the heart. They may be from some other things too. Somebody may be coughing and have chest pain, but there's this chest tightness at the middle that could suggest that something is happening to the heart, and you could have to check that out. Then syncope, that is this fainting spell, if you like fainting and all of that. A number of them could be due to poor blood supply to the brain, because the heart is not pumping effectively due to hypertension, and you need to check it out. Tinnitus is ringing in the ears. Sometimes there's nothing, no sound, no generator is on and all of that, but they keep hearing this buzz sound. It can come in different forms, many different sounds for different people, and it's there in your head as if that sound will not just leave you alone. It's called tinnitus. There are many causes for it. Even some drugs can cause it. But if no drug was taken, no infection in your ear and all of that, you may also think of hypertension. And nocturia, excessive urination at night. You shouldn't urinate for more than 2 times at night, except the weather is so cold or you took a lot of water. Aside that, it shouldn't be more than 2 times. And in a night, at night, and starts getting beyond that, you should check it out too. Hypertension may be in the corner. Retinal edema is just damage to our eyes. And when you do a normal, maybe you go to the high hospital and they check your eye with some instrument and look into that one, and they tell you that there's a problem with your retina. There are many causes anyway, but hypertension could be one of them, and it's important you continue to check it. So renal damage, that's kidney damage. So how do you start noticing that your kidney may be damaged? Nocturia could be one of them. That's excessive urination at night. Sometimes it could even be reduced urination. Somebody may start noticing that when they wake up from sleep, their eyes, their face look puffy, as if there was something that we heard once, that when people eat plenty rice on Sundays, the next morning, Monday, they start seeing their face swell. I don't know how correct that is, but the point is that it starts giving that stuff, and can actually start having eye bags, plenty heavy eye bags. The legs are swollen and all of that. By the time the person walks around the whole day, the whole thing comes down. The next one, the same thing happens. It means it's affecting your kidneys too, and it's affecting it dangerously. Some people with hypertension and is already causing them problems would have become irritable. Every little thing you do, you shout. What is happening? Are you? So you see that they are already sounding quite irritable. It can also cause stroke, and it can cause bleeding through the nose. I had one experience in my practice. A little child hawking the hawks, 15-year-old. I can't remember what she was hawking then, but just noticed she was rushed to the hospital, bleeding to the nose profusely. As we were trying to block the thing and we were trying to do normal vitals, we noticed her BP was high, very high. By the time we controlled that BP, of course, it came down to normal. It is not the only thing that causes epistaxis, that's bleeding from the nose, or nosebleeds. If you pick your nose so much, always pick your nose, use your fingers to do that. Whether your finger is short or long, it will still cause the same thing. There's a tiny artery somewhere in the nose there that is easy to reach with your nails, and that is why a lot of people can injure it. But if you also notice that your BP is also high, it can cause that bleeding. And it is not the only artery that is affected. It means some other bleeding may be happening internally, you don't know. So you don't need to wait till you have epistaxis. And if you do, just check it out. How do we diagnose hypertension? Diagnosis of hypertension is made by just measuring your blood pressure, at least 3 times anyway. Well, it can also be done 2 times apart, according to WHO guidelines. That is remember, I've told you that you have to make sure that you have indulged in things that will not increase your blood pressure by not taking coffee, don't take anything that is rich in nicotine, whether you're smoking it or you are drinking it or anything, or chewing it. Don't take anything like that. There are a lot of guidelines. It's a long list. Then make sure that the people checking it are well trained for it. So you cannot just go to a pharmacy. You don't know who trained them. And you get your blood pressure. They tell you it's high. And you can't start shouting, oh, my BP is high. If you take blood pressure medication there, your BP may actually go low because that result wasn't correct. You need to make sure that you check your blood pressure in a hospital and let qualified health personnel that have been certified by the Medical and Dental Council check you. Then check history and perform the physical exam. Well, these are for medical people. All these other tests listed here are tests we do to know whether your kidneys have already been affected, and they're quite important, but it's for medical purposes. But it's important that you know that, like I said, there are 5 target organs for hypertension: the brain, the eyes, the heart, the 2 kidneys, and all the blood vessels in our body. So all these tests are targeted at checking them to know the level of damage already caused at the time the diagnosis is made. So urinalysis is important, kidney ultrasound and kidney function test, of course. Okay, eye assessment of ophthalmoscopy is important. Electrocardiography, echocardiography are quite important. Chest X-ray, of course, helps to also see the impact on your blood vessels and your heart. It will tell you whether your heart is also enlarged or not due to hypertension, because hypertension usually always enlarge the heart, because the heart is pumping under a lot of pressure. So it's just like you going to the gym. You notice that if you're very regular, your muscles start swelling. The same thing happens to the heart. It's just that it is not good for the heart to be developing that kind of muscle. So, but it's the easiest way of identifying and diagnosing hypertension is to check your blood pressure. Remember, for the treatment, lifestyle modification is very important as much as use of your medication. You cannot do one in isolation of the other one and expect a proper control of your blood pressure. Nahi. It's important that you adopt good lifestyle guidelines And lifestyle guidelines include no to alcohol, no to smoking and anything that contains nicotine. Make sure you increase your exercise levels. Be regular about it. A lot of people have improved their blood pressures by engaging in regular physical activities. And I have seen a lot of that myself. Then make sure you reduce the quantity of dietary fat, dietary cholesterol, dietary salt you take. There are foods that are rich in potassium. Potassium, for hypertension, is the opposite of sodium. Sodium increases it, and the things that are rich in sodium increases the blood pressure. Whereas things rich in potassium, it helps stabilize the blood pressure. I'm not saying you should ever go to a pharmacy store and buy potassium tablets. It is very dangerous. Potassium is so active that it can shut somebody's heart and the person will have heart block and die. So don't ever go and buy it. But there are foods that are very rich in potassium, including your banana. Very rich in potassium. All the green vegetables we consume that are edible, green vegetables, in fact, the greener the better, they are very rich in potassium. And what you have and you can get from your diet is good enough to take care of you. So you don't need to go and buy the tablets. Then what other thing about lifestyle management? We've talked about physical activities. Okay, then I think we've basically described these things very well. A lot of reading has to be done by you to further educate yourself here so that you understand the dietary controls as well. Then for drugs, you must make sure that the drugs that have been given to you is taken the way it was prescribed. And make sure you check your blood pressure regularly also. And when you check your blood pressure, make sure that it controls your blood pressure within what it should be. It shouldn't be higher, it shouldn't be lower. It should just stay always normal. And that is the only time that all the complications we have mentioned about hypertension can be reduced. So prevention is simple. Check your blood pressure regularly, stop smoking, reduce your weight, achieve optimal BMI, body mass index, reduce alcohol. In fact, stop alcohol intake. Once there is hypertension, it's a no for alcohol. You don't take it at all because it will fast track the damage to your tissues and your body. Low salt diet is important because at that point, any extra sodium in your salts you take, which is in your food, is going to increase your blood pressure. High dietary fiber is important. It helps. One of the jobs it does here is to help also mop up a lot of the fat and sodium and other things in our system and help us pass them out as too, so that it helps control these things as a way of binding them. Less job stress. So you that do not go on leave year in, year out, because you are the strong of that knows everything everybody have to come to. Please, you may be harming your body. You need rest. All of us need it so that we can function effectively. Then exercise regularly, at least thrice a week. Be regular about that when blood pressure control is adequate. In fact, do this regularly, you'll see that your blood pressure is going to improve. It's not only for people that are hypertensive. People that are also not hypertensive also need these exercises to prevent the hypertension. Don't wait for hypertension to come before you start doing this thing, because it will have caused some damage to your body. I want you to live a very healthy life. Stay 120 years. All of us meet ourselves somewhere. I want 21 years. I don't want to say 125 years. I want to say 130 years, and we'll clap for ourselves. How did you achieve this? I was careful with life. The best way to take care of your old age is to take care of your youth. Consider what you take, what you do to yourself. The lifestyle you live in your youth, very important. Maintain that good lifestyle in your youth all through. You're likely to dodge some bullets, including hypertension. So in summary, hypertension is persistently elevated blood pressure. It is mostly caused by our lifestyle. Well, they're also the primary time that may not cause it as well. So it is a silent killer with no signs, no symptoms. In order to prevent hypertension, you need to modify your lifestyle. The emphasis is on lifestyle because it's one modifiable factor. Certain family history you cannot modify. It's there, it's there. If you have someone that is hypertensive, you cannot modify it. The one you can do, you should do, and you shouldn't relent. Remember to do your medical checkup regularly. And that is where we end it. Thank you so much for listening, and we appreciate you. So we should be getting ready to take your questions now.
Wow, doctor. This is very in-depth, very rich, very insightful. My God, this is a masterclass on its own. Thank you so very much for the insights, depth knowledge, so relaxed, and so relaxed. At the point, I gotta be scared. See what I'm hearing, God help me. But at least refreshing to know that we can help ourselves now. One point that you mentioned that which I love so much, the best way to take care of your old age is to take care of your youth. Very, very, very valid points. All right, so without wasting our time, anybody any question? Someone's asking that what is he didn't get the part where you asked about the what is the ideal blood pressure limits?
Okay, so the ideal, remember that we have the upper one we call the systolic, the lower one we call the diastolic. Yeah. So it is not more like over. It's not a mathematical equation. You understand? So it's not this divided by this. It is upper one against the lower and the lower one, not against the lower one. Upper one and the lower one. We have to check and make sure that both of them are within the reference range. So the upper one should range between 100 and 120. It shouldn't be lower. It shouldn't be above that. Though it is still considered, it can be a little lower for pregnant women. There's a physiologic situation, something that makes it come down that much and still considered normal. But for the most part, 100 to 120 is considered the reference range for the upper one. For the most part, 65 to 85 millimeters of mercury is considered the reference range for the lower one.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So asking again that can you talk more about the sleep apnea, or what's it called? The sleep
apnea.
Apnea, yeah.
Sleep apnea. Apnea simply talks about the period of fast breathing and low breathing that happens during sleep. A lot of us are not aware of it. It is oftentimes the people beside us that know that we are having difficulty breathing. So they notice that sometimes for some seconds we're not breathing. We just stay like as if we're not breathing at all. Then suddenly we do and breathe fast. So you see, if you draw a wave of that, you see there are times we breathe fast, up. Suddenly we'll start coming down small. We don't notice them. But what impact and relationship does it have with hypertension? You see, there is a hand in glove collaboration between our heart and our lungs. The heart pumps blood. The blood it pumps the lungs is deoxygenated. It doesn't have enough oxygen. So it carries that blood to the lungs through the blood vessels so that all those blood will pick up a large quantity of oxygen from the lungs. So if they get there and they are arriving in the lungs when this person is in their apnea stage, for the people that have sleep apnea stage means their breathing is so little of oxygen at that particular time because the wave is already down. It makes the heart pump faster because it wants to send as many people as possible to pick up all the oxygen that is supplied. You see, you breathe in, we say that we have about 23.3% of oxygen in the atmosphere, normal atmosphere. And that's at sea level, of course. But when we breathe in and then breathe out, the air we breathe out contains about 16% of oxygen still. It means not all the oxygen was mopped up. So 23 is in the air we breathe in. When you now breathe out, you have 16% of all the air you're breathing out as oxygen. Of course, the quantity of carbon dioxide in it increases. You understand? So it means that your body only took just around 7% of the total quantity of oxygen in the blood. But in that apnea stage, the body, the heart tries to pump in extra blood at a very fast rate, so that it will mop up all the oxygen that enters the lungs, so that we will stay alive even in that sleep state.
Thank you.
So the fact that it's pumping at that fast rate makes it pump at a higher pressure. And over time, we say that you can make or break a habit within 23 days.
Yes, sir.
But over time, the heart becomes used to pumping at a high pressure. So whether you are in a sleep state or apnea state or not, the heart is busy pumping at a very high pressure. And that is not safe for us. That can also cause hypertension. But when you now go to the hospital with complaints relating sleep apnea, and the appropriate doctors attend to you and help you achieve cure of that, the heart also gets used to, again, the normal situation at night, that oxygen quantity is also coming back to normal. There are cells we call chemoreceptors. We have two types of cells that that command the heart or give feedback to the heart to make it pump heart faster or harder. We have one is the baroreceptor. It is looking at the pressure. So once the pressure reduces, the heart is automatically getting a feedback, pump faster, so that the pressure will increase. If it is getting so high, it tells the heart, pump slower. You see, these are like sensors, the way you have sensors in your heart, in your cars. These are like sensors in our body. So they play major roles. So for the chemical part that detects the quantity of oxygen and some other things inside there, it tells you the oxygen level is low, pump faster, because the person is in the apnea stage. And because they are in the apnea stage, the heart keeps pumping faster. But now, if they get cured and they notice the chemoreceptors are no longer giving feedback to the heart that the quantity of oxygen in the blood is reduced, it will now tell it to, over time, the heart starts getting used to this adequate quantity. No feedback is coming, so I should start coming down, and gradually starts coming down on the rate and the strength of pumping the blood, and that blood pressure can come down automatically. Hope this explanation clarifies.
Fantastic. We have some questions on the call. We have a question. Someone said, is there anything called stress diabetes? That's one. So asking, I have a question. I have headache every single day, not serious, but constant. Even when I sleep, I wake up with headache non-stop. Is there anything for concern?
Okay. So for the first question, is there anything like stress diabetes? There is no terminology, any type of diabetes we call stress diabetes, but there could be a relationship between stress, physical stress, mental stress, all of them to diabetes. So people that are stressed at work, especially for mental stress, may be the ones doing a whole lot of work. Bankers, there have been a relationship between banking and stress. And a lot of them also get big and fat because a lot of them continue to take care of the large volume of people that visit the banking halls. So they don't even have any time to move out from your seat, go too far from your seat. So you're always on the system to do some work. And a lot of other companies have become designed in the same way banks are designed, and people have to stay long hours behind their screens and all of that. Those can be perceived by your body as stress and leads to sedentary lifestyle that can eventually lead to obesity. And obesity, there's a type 2 diabetes that definitely relates with obesity, as in can cause that's related with obesity. So the obesity is the reason the diabetes was there. We've mentioned it before in secondary type of diabetes. So that is the only way we can relate stress and diabetes, but there's no type of diabetes that is called stress diabetes. That's for that. Then for the constant headache, you see, there are too many things that cause headache. Even the sleep apnea can cause headache. Hypertension can cause headache. There are other ones that do not have a known reason for the headache, migraine types of headache, and there are different types of migraine. You understand? So it's even a drop in our blood sugar level because we didn't eat on time can cause headache. A little fever can cause headache. Worry can cause headache. So it's important we sieve and sieve and sieve and sieve and find out which one speaks to you directly. And the best way to do that is to go to the hospital. So I think you need to go to the hospital, sit with the doctor, tell them you have this constant headache. If the normal doctors are not properly taking care of you, we have it. People will call specialists that are headache specialists, and they are neuropsychiatrists. As in, I'm not saying the psychologists. So they are doctors that are neurologists. Let me put it that way. Neuro doctors of the nerves, brain, and all of that. Not the ones that do. We have the ones that handle the medical part. They are ones that handle the surgical part. So the ones that handle the medical part are called neurologists. The ones that handle the surgical part are called the neurosurgeons. So for people that have headache, among other doctors, of course, you need to see, they are the specialists. In case the other doctors outside this spec do not take care of your headache concerns, you then need to see a neurologist. Neuro, N-E-U, then neurologist. I think this should suffice. Hope I attended to your question right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Someone's asking, which is very funny questions, that can I skip the intake of the drug once in a while? Taking daily can be scarring.
No, no, no. It is a no that stretches from here to the end of the head and goes round and round. You see what? We all eat more than once a day. And whenever we're hungry, we feed our bodies. Yes, drugs are not food. So it doesn't feel wonderful taking these things. I understand you. It comes with some psychological concerns that you have to swallow and swallow and swallow this thing you know is not food. But we don't take it because you like the drug. You take it because you need to stay healthy. I learned that Abraham said that we eat to live and we don't live to eat. So you take your drugs to live, not living to take your drugs. So if it is solving a problem for you, please don't do it the way you want it. Do it the way it should be done, not the way you want it. The way you want it is not the right way. The way that will work for you and make sure that you are safe from all complications of hypertension is the way that was recommended. And it must achieve the blood. Even that way recommended may not even achieve proper control because the doctors, there is what works for everyone. What works for patient A may not work for patient B. So they will give you certain dose to make sure and tell you, give you a short appointment, come back, let's see whether this blood pressure is controlled. If you don't go back, they wouldn't know whether it's controlled. And they'll keep giving you large doses. But I have seen people that started with 3 tablets for antihypertensives, and for a couple of months, their blood pressure started getting controlled, that it looks like even the three tablets is now reducing it below normal. And then you start seeing dose adjustments. Some have achieved just 1 tablet or even half tablet. I have reduced doses for a lot of people. And you should be in that category of persons who stick to the regimen. Don't be scared of the drug. It will not bite you. Every worry you have is in your mind, and you can conquer it. It's under your control. So please, don't think the way you want.
2 more questions and we'll call it a day. Someone asking a question, is coffee okay? 1, 2. I use the BP drugs daily, but I have pains at the tip of my 8 fingers and my palm. Only the 2 fingers would have pains using the prescribed BP drugs. Please kindly advise, why am I feeling those pains in my hands and palm after taking the drugs?
For the question, is coffee good? No, it is not good for somebody that is hypertensive.
Fantastic.
You see, coffee increases the quantity of adrenaline. You remember we've talked about pheochromocytoma, adrenal hyperplasia in the secondary type of hypertension. Coffee and any other thing that contains nicotine or contains coffee, even if it's a chewing gum or whatever, or your sweet, all of them can increase the blood pressure because they activate and pump in more adrenaline into the body. It is not safe for people that are hypertensive. It is one major dietary modification that must be achieved to assist control your blood pressure. It is not, you see, everything we've mentioned here have to be put together to achieve that control. If you don't put them properly right, you're not likely to achieve a proper control.
Fantastic.
Then for the pain on the tip of your hands, there are many things. it may not be the drug you're taking that is causing that. It may not be the drug. So you need to go to the hospital and also discuss with them. I'm not saying certain drugs cannot narrow your blood vessels. In fact, most drugs that are used for hypertension rather try to expand the blood vessels. And when they expand them, they push in more blood to the tissues. And when they push this blood to the tissues, you're not likely to be feeling the pains. Because what will even cause you the problem is narrowing of the blood vessels at the tip of your finger. Those are things that will cause you pain. We'll call it ischemia. So you need to check, go to the hospital, and make sure you don't have problems that could affect blood vessels and cause clogging of the blood vessels. So it means you may need to check your cholesterol, you may need to check to confirm that you don't have diabetes and many other things. So go to the hospital and check it out too. It might not be the drug.
Okay, finally. So I was asking, what can make one wake up so heavy? Interesting.
Wake up so heavy. You see, we can call a lot of things heavy. Sometimes, yes. So sometimes you wake up with the body pains because the previous day you did a whole lot of work and physical activity. Maybe even, you see, much as mopping your house. You don't know, maybe your house may be a football field size and you're mopping and sweeping and cleaning and all of that. You're doing laundry. Why wouldn't you wake up feeling heavy and body pains? Because you've also stressed your body. So it may not be due to hypertension, but one thing you need is to rest more and find some assistance if you think you're overworking yourself. Find a little assistance to help you do a few chores in the house. It may not be somebody that will live in your house. It may be somebody you just employ to come at certain times of the day, do some agreed house chores, and it will reduce the volume. By the time you do the remaining ones, you're not going to be feeling all those pains. So it's important. It's not due to hypertension. It can happen. There are many things that can cause that. Then, of course, remember too, there are times you will rest, maybe go on leave and stay 2 weeks, and you want to really indulge in involving yourself in some activities, going out there to go and rest or go to the beach and all of that. You may end up feeling so heavy because you're busy adding more weight. So it's important to still go to the hospital and find out why you're feeling that way. If everything is normal, look at the level of work you do at home or you do at work or some places, or even the stress on the traffic, because you can feel heavy after that because your whole body has been so stressed up. Every form of stress can give you that.
Fantastic. Wow. The doctor. This is too much. Thank you so very much. But I cannot thank you alone because your thank you is heavy. I have to employ my senior colleagues. But first, I want to ask, I can see online, the REMS VP is online. Mama, can you say every remark on me, ma? Before we call on Madam Benita for closing remarks and vote of thanks. Madam VP, Madam Spicy B, Madam BC Mwale, are you there, ma?
Yes, I am. Hello, Bobby. Good morning.
Morning, ma.
I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yes.
Thank you. What's his name now? I was looking at the name. Dr. Iyina. Thank you so much. Very, very okay, sorry. I'm looking at the spelling I saw.
You're correct, anyone.
It's been a very insightful session for the fact that most of us we are way past adult. What should we call it now? We are way past young age. We are way past young age. Most of us are in that middle belt, that middle line, and because of the kind of work we do as realtors, or things we have done in the past, we have some places we have worked in the past, the kind of lifestyle we live, this training comes as a real high opener. It comes at it's coming at the right time, And I know it's as personal to me as for most of the people that listened in, because I checked and I was checking out some of the people that are there, that are here in this room. So thank you so much. I hope we can have more of this coming from IGER. And seriously, I believe that most of us would have taken in a lot of learnings. Like Bobby said, it's like a point. I'm sure some of us panic yourself or are scared, because when you started talking about the symptoms, when you started talking about the symptoms, personally, I could. It resonates. You understand? It resonates, and I feel like, okay, yes. Then there has to be a lot of lifestyle changes. There has to be a lot of caution in actually watching, and then taking this serious, because, like you said, there are a lot of things that could actually lead to it. It's not just about stress and other things. So thank you, and I hope that this particular session would help most of us into taking serious care about our health, especially so that we can prevent hypertension, or we can take ourselves out of that. What is that percentage you said? I caught in when you said the percentage was quite high, about 7 million or something like that, so that we don't become one of those 7 million. God help us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Enyema. It's been a very, very wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Before we bring in our referee director who made this possible for us, just note that the recording has been done. It will be. We'll send a link to the group. Those that were not able to join live, watch later on and get knowledge.
Okay.
All right. So I want to bring on board right now REMS referee director, Madam Manita Chidebere. Please, ma'am, you have the floor, ma'am. Vote of thanks and closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pastor Bobby. Dr. Engineer, thank you so very much.
Thank you too.
We've learned a lot. In fact, you've really poured out your heart for us, and I believe that everyone present here have learned one or two. Thank you very much. We appreciate. And like Oliver Twist, ahead, we are saying that we are going to call you again, because we cannot just learn this just once, and a lot of people couldn't make it today. We have a lot of people, but thank God we recorded it and they will learn. But we still want to learn more. So we are still going to call you, and please don't say no.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Ija, for making this happen. We appreciate you, Ija. And for our REMS Nation, thank you for joining, and I believe you have learned a lot today. Also, we are partnering with IGEA, and if you are interested in having an HMO with IGEA, because we're already partnering with them, you can get a cheaper package because we are coming as a group. So if you're interested in having this HMO, whether as individual or family, you can contact me. Let's see how we'll make it happen for you, because it's actually cheaper to go through HMO with all this that we have just learned, and it's easier for you to go and see doctor. So if you are interested in HMO, please let us know so that we can help you make that possible. Thank you once again, Dr. Enina. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having you over and over again.
And
thank you.
Daniel, the action.
Thank you, Pastor Bobby. Over to you. Thank you.
All right, so guys, it's been an exciting time again this morning, and we trust God that we apply what we have learned today. Thanks so much, also Daniel too. Thanks for making this happen, Mr. Daniel, from our account officer from Nigeria. And go to your chat room and ask for the number of the director. You get it there, not here. Go to your WhatsApp group and you get the contact number of the director for more details of the HMO. All right, guys. So we'll ensure we'll post the link again today so I can use it to offer again. And thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, again. Dr. Inem and our referee director and REMS Nation. REMS what? REMS Nation. Always giving us the best and always making us ensure that we are in a good, safe hands. All right, guys. So see you again next time for that time again of REMS Love. All right. Thank you so much, Benita. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Daniel, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you, boss.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Thanks for the directors and everyone.
Thank God.
All right. See you.
Okay, but I'm very bye. Okay.
Blessed good month. Bye-bye.